We're good.
All right.
Now we're good.
How are you today, man?
I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you?
I am doing good. How many of you guys have been here all 3 days?
What? Y'all crazy.
How many of you, this is your first day here?
There's like 4 people.
All right, of those people, how many, this is your first comic convention ever? Wow,
way.
that's incredible.
It's not my first. It's not my first rodeo. I've done a few of these. Well, welcome to the first timers.
Yeah, it's new.
What do you think? So far, it's craziness?
Well,
in a good way?
Thank you for spending your first time here with us this afternoon. So, yeah, so if you guys have some questions, you go ahead and start lining up. But I wanted to ask some questions myself.
What do you got for me?
So, true or false? Your first film was X2.
First feature film, yeah, X-Men 2.
How do you get?
I know, it's like
all
my buddies, all my actor friends are like, really? Really? But I don't know, right place at the right time. I mean, I did a couple commercials and then a few TV episodes, and then just like everyone else, I went to a big cattle call, which is basically just anyone that slightly fits the description of this character without really telling anyone what the character, who the character is. And went out for that. Guess they saw something they liked, and then kept coming back for callbacks. And I think it was like 5 auditions later, I got the part. I'm auditioning in front of the producers and directors in the studio and trying not to throw up. And yeah, I mean, the process is very strange because if you're doing a job interview, which essentially that's what we do, and someone talks to you, and in the audition, they all sit there with poker faces on, so you can't get anything from them, and they just sit and stare at you. And there's like 10 people in the back of a room, and you're like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go now. Maybe I got it, maybe I didn't, and then you leave and you don't hear anything. If you don't hear anything, you didn't get it. If you hear something, you got it. So you don't have any idea of what you need to improve or fix or work on. So that process is very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a really weird world. Like I do like 5 auditions a week and hear nothing, and it's just like, all right, gotta forget about it. Even though deep down inside, when you start to figure out what that project is, you're like, oh, that would be fun to work on. Oh, I'd like to work on that. And then you just hear nothing, so you're like, on to the next.
Were you a comic fan? Were you a fan of the X-Men before you got that gig?
I was, but the unfortunate part was it was always on at 3 o'clock. And I lived at the bottom of this ridiculously long and steep hill in elementary school, and I would race home as fast as I could, and I'd always get like 5 or 10 minutes of the very end of it. So I'd never really understand really what's going on in the story, but I just would catch a bit of a few of my favorite characters. I tried collecting comic books. I had a buddy who had like copious amounts of comic books, like rooms full of it. And I never had any money, and I didn't have the patience to sit and read a comic book. So I tried it for a little bit, and then I think I collected maybe 10. I think that was my collection. I was like, oh, I got 10 comic books. Had them in plastic. They were all really cool. Yeah. And I have no idea where they went. I'm sure I'm sure my older brother burned them or something just to do what older brothers do. Just to get back at me.
Did you have a favorite character? I mean, either X-Men or in other comics?
I don't think I did like Spider-Man. I liked collecting them, but it was only because of the artist, and I'm trying to remember the artist's name, and it's like gone right out of my head. But I liked X-Men, but I didn't have like I said, 10-minute of every cartoon every day. You never really had a chance to figure and find out who you really identified with and who you liked the most. I think I liked Wolverine only because I found out he was Canadian in the whole sort of, so I was like, yeah, we got one. And now he's Australian, so it's just, you never know.
Well, what kind of research did you have to do for a character like Colossus?
A lot of online work, which is always interesting because a lot of the online stuff is written by fans, so sometimes it's not as accurate as it could be. So I had to delve into that for quite a while. I did a lot of voice work with accents because I knew at the beginning, because they said if you can do a Russian accent, bring the audition with a Russian accent. So I had tapes, which were hilarious. Just someone sitting in a room, no, you have to speak like this. If you want to use the words, you have to speak like this. And I just remember sitting there, like falling asleep, working on this Russian accent, and I remember doing it in the room, And they were like, oh, great, you can do Russian accent, wonderful. And then I got the part, and I was like, okay, Brian, the director, I'm like, so what do you think? Are we still going to the Russian? He's like, no, I don't like accents. And I was like, okay, I guess that was a wasted amount of time, but what can you do? And that's the number one question people ask. Well, why weren't you Russian? I was like, because I had no choice. Because the director said no, and I was brand new, and I couldn't say anything. I was like, yes, sir, I'll be over here.
And then you went on to work in the Twilight movies. Any Twilight fans out here?
Yeah.
Just a couple.
Which was hilarious. I didn't even... So the funny thing about Twilight is someone randomly came up to me and was like, hey, so Stephanie Meyer wants you to be Emmett. And I'm like, who are you? And what are you talking about? Are you okay? Are you drunk? And they're like, no, it's this whole series of books, and she wants it. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll talk to my agent. Told my agent about it. He's like, oh, okay, great. Nothing ever came of it. Another actor was hired. And I, fast forward, what was it, about a year and a half, and I had just lost out on one of the major roles for Spartacus. I did a screen test. I signed contracts. I was going to play Crixus in Spartacus. And right at the 11th hour, they were like, no, we're going with the local who's in New Zealand. And I was devastated. I was crushed. It was like, this was going to be potential, as me as a performer, years of work and learning and growing as an actor. And I was pretty gutted. And my agent calls me a few days later. He's like, oh, they got, they're shooting this movie, New Moon. There's a part, but it was the guy in New Moon who tries to pick up Bella outside the bar on his motorcycle. So it's a one day, one line. I was working on another show. I was like, yeah, I'll try to get in there. I walk in. It was like an Abercrombie and Fitch modeling campaign. Like every dude looked the same. He just had like the coiffed hair and deep V-neck shirt. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, all right, fair enough. So I just kind of had fun with it. A few days later, they're like, hey, we'd love for you to, director, producer session, call back, love you to come in. I'm like, great, what day is it? Ended up falling on a day where I had to work on another project. It's like, I can't make it. My agent and I had a bit of a fight. And I was like, all right, so the day after that, I can get in there and we'll just tape it. And the casting director was totally fine. And so I showed up, had sort of rejigged the scene a little bit, and I get there, and the casting director is just flamboyant, great, wonderful guy, and he's just like, so, this vampire is very, and I'm like, just hold on a second, what are you talking about? What do you mean you don't have the sides? I'm like, no, I thought I was coming in to just do the scene that we had done previously. Oh my God, he sweat beads down his forehead and mine. And so I essentially had 15 minutes with these sides for Felix, and we just kind of ran it a few times, and then we taped it. And I sent it off, and I ended up taping it again the next day with a friend of mine just to send another tape with a little bit more preparation. And next thing you know, I'm in 4 of the 5 Twilight films playing Felix. I was like, all right, cool. So it's just random how things can just randomly just change direction so quickly. And what I had my heart set on living in New Zealand and working on Spartacus ended up being like something completely different. And like in the drop of a dime. So it's the weirdest. I work in the weirdest industry.
Did you go back? Did you read the books?
The funny thing is I did. Well, I want to do my research, right? This is where it all came from. Everyone is hyped about these books, so I go buy them. But of course, the bookstore that was closest to me was like one of those really kind of like, you had to be a book reader to go there. Like it has to be, it has to be very intense and some really, strong, thick books. And I walk in there and I'm like, you got any Twilight books? And I remember this kind of like, this woman just kind of looked at me. Yes, we have those. And in the back of my head, I'm like, this is research. Like, I got a role in a movie. This is a big deal for me. And I pay for them, and they're sitting up on the desk. And I remember her looking at me and just going, do you want a bag? And I go, no, actually, you know what? I'm going to carry these out in public right out of this place and be proud that I'm going to take them. And then I read them all. And then I should have just got the audiobook. But I read them. I wanted to see where all the sort of hype and all the excitement came from. So I had at least an understanding. And to maybe there was something in there that I didn't know about for the character. And so, yeah, I read them.
Movie or book? Movie or books? What was better?
Well, here's the thing. So a movie is always your own interpretation of the story.
Right.
So for you, a lot of the times the movie's always, or the book's always going to be what you think is the best, because you've created the story in your head and you've already visually sort of mapped out and played the whole thing. And then the movie is a one person's version of the book. So it's always really tricky, obviously with all of the actors playing their parts, but you know, you have a captain of the ship who sort of oversees everything, along with Stephanie Meyer sort of doing that. And so it's always tough. I'm more of a visual person, so I like movies. But yeah, but it's 50-50 really.
What do you feel like you get more at your table? Like when guests come up to see you, do they more X-Men side or more Twilight side?
It's been a lot of, it's been 50-50, a lot of people. And then there's a lot of roles that people don't know I've played, and they're like, oh my God, you're in that too? And so, yeah, it's been a bit of half and half, which is cool for me. The ones that are funny to me is when it's somebody that I would just, you know, you're totally judging a book by the cover, and someone comes up and you're like, oh yeah, so you start talking about a movie, but they don't say specifically which one it is, and then you're like, oh yeah, so you liked X-Men? They're like, no. It's Twilight, stupid. And you're just like, oh yeah, totally saw that in you. So you never know. You never know.
So one thing I saw about you is that you played rugby.
I did, yeah.
Do you still
No.
Yeah, protect that body.
That's not really very good for the acting industry. I remember I was playing for a while, and then I'd be like showing up to auditions with like cleat marks on the side of my face. And the casting director would be like, what happened this weekend? And I'm like, just basketball with some buddies. Got crazy. But I played I started really late. I started playing when I was 21 years old. And I had just come back from college. I was playing football at college. And I started playing rugby. And I'm like, I should have played this sport the whole time. But by then, I was already pretty beat up and already kind of, like a 22-year-old with like a 40-year-old's body. And I played for the national team for a little bit, like the development team in Canada. And I was thinking about going overseas to play professional. Oh, wow. And then I just was like, my body was already starting to get beat up, and acting just kept calling. And I'm like, I can pretend to get beat up and not really, I can wake up the next day and actually turn left to right with my neck.
That's
Whereas rugby, every Sunday you'd wake up, and if there are any kids in here, it's a term called boner neck. So you couldn't really move your neck, so you'd be like this, huh? What? And so I got to the point where it took a year and a half, and I finally could move my neck from right to left after stop playing. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to play rugby anymore and get my face smashed in.
Yeah, play fighting is just as.
Yeah.
And you've done stunts for other shows and, and movies as well.
I kind of, no pun intended, but I kind of just fell into it. I mean, literally, I was. I'm a dad. I'm allowed to. I just got to the point where when I was working on the shows, and the stunt coordinators would say, like, it's really hard to double you. There's not a lot of guys that can double your size. So they would just say, hey, do you mind doing this small stunt or this little fight scene? And they knew I had a background in athletics. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally fine with me. And then it just kind of grew, and I started to really fall in love with the art form because it really reminded me of all of the team sports that I played, even though it is most of the time it's an individual piece, you are still working with a team or you're working with somebody else. And it's this whole sort of physical dance performance that goes on, and then the physicality of it I just really enjoyed. And I mean, there's obviously a shelf life with it because you do get a little beat up, but it sort of helps. Each one, the acting helps your stunts, and your stunts help your acting, and so you can just become a better all-around performer by doing it. The only downside is that in the industry, the stunt world is kind of viewed as very less than. You've got your acting up here, and then your sort of stunt performance down there, which is unfortunate, but it's just sort of always the way it's been because stunts were sort of done predominantly by essentially cowboys at the beginning, guys who couldn't care less about acting, but just came in and rode a horse and fell off it and were totally fine with it and go drink beer afterwards. Like that was, and so everyone's like, oh, the stunt monkeys are here, and you're just like, all right, whatever, man. And yeah, it's a fantastic industry. I really enjoy working on it.
Do you have a preference over movies, TV, stunts? I mean, stunts, you go in, you shoot your thing, and you get out, you go home.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm sort of 38 and I'm, in my world, I'm feeling older. And like I said, I got 2 young kids, so I feel even older with no sleep. And so smashing myself into the ground every single day, like 5 days a week, I kind of like the idea of just coming in and working predominantly as an actor and just, not smashing myself into the ground. But at the same time, I'm selfish in the aspect that I want to do everything that is my character. And so, yeah, it's like I want to I'm moving towards more of just strictly acting and sort of shying away from the stunts, but I keep getting called for it, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. And it doesn't matter, TV or film, it doesn't really, I'm good for all of it.
And along the same lines as stunts, I read that you're a big adrenaline junkie.
I was. I am.
Then you had kids.
Yeah, it's like, it does. It sounds like it just sounds like a broken record, but I like literally have kids and you're like, I don't need to do this anymore. Like mountain biking now, I'm like, I don't need to jump off that 15-foot ledge onto that descent anymore because I got nothing to prove. So it's definitely sort of subsiding in me a little bit. There's still things that I want to do, but I'm like, I got kids and my wife's gonna kill me if I can walk afterwards. So I'm gonna shy away from it.
What was the craziest thing you've done? Have you jumped out of planes, bungee jumps?
No, I haven't jumped out of a plane, but I bungee jumped, and I tricked my wife into doing it too, which was great. I went and I signed myself up, and then I was like, she wasn't looking, and I signed her up real quick. And then I went and bungee jumped. There's a bridge over top of this river. It's like 180 feet, and you jump down, and I jumped out. It's so much fun. And if you go naked, it's free. I was very close to going naked. I'm all about a deal. I'm all about a deal.
I don't know.
It's a little bit of naked.
That's a deal.
Well, depends. It's a deal for me, probably not for other people.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're tandem jumping or not.
This is true. No, I'll go solo. Let it all hang out. Have a blast. And then I finished. They wheeled me up, and they're like, all right. And Stephanie, put yourself in the harness. And she was so caught off guard. And I'm like, guys, just put her in the harness as quick as you can. And, good for her. She just jumped right off. I was like, I got a girl.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was great.
So is that the craziest thing you've done then? I mean, it's how you top that.
I don't know. I mean, like, I've lit myself on fire for stunts, and I've ratcheted across a room, and I've flown over things, and I've smashed through things. I want to jump out of a plane, but now, like I said, I'm like, he's just
Wait till the kids get older, and then you'd make it a family affair.
I mean, yeah, right? There you go. Nah, I want to skydive really badly. I want to skydive, but I'm going to wait a little bit. Because I think also there's like a height and weight requirement that if you go over it, you have to solo jump. You can't go tandem. And I don't know if I really want a dude like on my back flying and we're both screaming. Like at that moment where I'm just like,
Yep, you're like, this is it. This is how I die.
Yeah,
with this guy on my back.
And
yep.
he's like, yeah, bro, screaming in your ear. And I'm like, I don't think I want to die this way. I just don't want some strange dude on my back. And that's how I'm going out, because you end up being the one who gets squished, right? Like,
right.
You die first.
Right, when that headline makes
what I mean?
the TMZ.
Like, I'm going to flatten, and then I'm going to have a guy die on top of me. So how did he go out with a strange dude on his back? It's not what I want on my headstone. So I think I want to go solo. I was supposed to go solo with, when I was living in LA, there was a bunch of stunt guys that I knew that were part of like the Red Bull Air Force who do like insane things with base jumping and all that. They were going to take me out, but it never ended up going through. And I was regretting the fact that I didn't do that because they would have taken me up and done a solo session. They would have done this sort of ground fan. You've seen that stuff where they have the fan and you jump in? Yes. So that you do that for a little while so you understand how to sort of maintain and hold yourself in the air. But yeah, one of these days I will.
All right, I'm looking forward to that day.
I am too, as long as there's not a dude strapped to my back.
Better you than me. I'm gonna stay right. I will wave to you.
You will, won't it? That's how he goes out.
I'll make sure there's nobody. If there is somebody strapped to your back, I'll make sure to unhook them and then.
It's always one of those funny things too. When you die, like when people die that way, people are like, "Oh, that's sad," but what were they thinking? You know what I mean? It's never like, "Oh, that's really horrible." You're like, "No, you kind of did it yourself. You're not a bird, man. You jumped out of a plane. Not supposed to fly." Oh well, on to the next thing. Oh, and he died with someone on his back. That's even worse. So 2 people died. A couple of pancakes.
What was your reaction to hearing the news that Disney was buying out Fox and that X-Men are now a part of the Marvel Disney family?
Disney, who owns everything? I think Disney actually owns all of us, and we don't even know it. It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, like, Marvel's been trying to get it back for years. And if you look at the Marvel universe and what they've done with their films, they've done an outstanding job with their films. So I think it's a positive. But what are they going to do with it? I'm not sure. People don't ask me, like, what do you think? And I have no idea. They have so many projects that are coming out right now. I think they announced, like, all of 2019. There's like 11 projects or something.
Yes. I think I'm sure that they probably, D23 is a month away, and they usually have a huge panel at that too. So possibly more, even more announcements.
I know. You know what I got excited about? It was when they announced Blade, because they're going to redo Blade. Yes. And I loved the very first Blade. Like, I thought that was an awesome movie. And I'm not the biggest. Well, Stephen Dorff and I were like, we worked together, and I thought he was fantastic in it, but he hasn't really done much since then. And I thought the Blade was fantastic, and I think Mahershala Ali is gonna like knock it out of the park. Like, if anyone's seen Green Book, anyone seen that movie? Yeah, fantastic movie. Him and Viggo Mortensen were just unreal. Like, as an actor, and you're watching, and you see actors just fully embody a character for the entire movie, and there's not one scene that you can ever see them take off. I was just like, so I know he's gonna knock it out of the park. It's gonna be so good. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows what the X-Men, Fantastic Four crossovers.
Who knows? Yeah, I know. Well, Fantastic Four has been that's like been the one project that has just never really gotten off the ground the way it really should. I mean, the last director got a serious drug problem on the shoot, so that's always a problem. When you become a meth addict halfway through shooting, I hear that's bad for a final film.
I mean,
I hear that kind of does, productivity kind of goes down. Creativity might go up, but not like how you want it to. But I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. I had been in talks a couple of times with Marvel with some other projects, so they just never came to fruition. So I have no idea. I'd love to get back into the whole Marvel universe, but right now I'm busy in Vancouver, man. I'm like, it's fantastic. I'm very fortunate. Like, I'm working on TV show Siren in Vancouver a lot, and doing some I worked on a John Cena movie just recently in Vancouver. So it's like, it's constant right now. So if the idea of Marvel doing something and wanting me to be involved, that'd be fantastic. But right now it's quite busy. So I'm a very well-fed actor. I'm very happy right now.
I mean, you're from Canada. You're doing all your stuff in Vancouver, and then you come down to Florida a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Raleigh this weekend, and it is so hot.
I haven't even been outside. Literally, I've been outside to get into the car. I've been in the hotel, and then I went from the hotel to the convention center, and that's where I've been. I haven't even been outside.
Do you find
I feel like a vampire.
Well.
Yeah, I know. I know. As I was saying that.
But do you welcome like this type of weather, or do you like, I am not going out?
No, I like it. I like seasons. I think if you just had the constant same thing all the time, God, you get bored.
That is Florida.
Yeah, that's Florida. That's Florida. That was California too. I mean, it was always funny because I lived in LA for 3 years, and then like off and on like 5 years. And it would get down to, I'm going to do the Fahrenheit conversion, but it would get down to, I don't know, like 60 or 70 at nighttime. And next thing you know, like, people are in like big woolly jackets, and women are in their Uggs, and they're just like, it's so cold. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Meanwhile, there's like 4 feet of rain coming down in Vancouver, and there's snow in the mountains, and I'm like, this is lovely. I'm sitting having a coffee in the sun in a February on my patio, and I'm like, really? This is nice. But you do start to long for that, that fall and the winter and the spring. It's nice to have the summer and to have all those seasons, which we get in Vancouver, though albeit the winter kind of wins in terms of how much time it spends. The rain just loves to hang around for a long period of time. But we also have lots of water and lots of greenery, so you got to be happy.
Do you ever get a chance to bring your family to these conventions?
No, not really. I mean, it's a pretty go. I mean, essentially, my wife would be hanging out with our little ones in the hotel room, and it's like, that's not cool. She wouldn't be very happy with me. So she's at her parents' place by it's this beautiful part of BC called the Okanagan, which is big, massive natural lakes, and it's like 85 degrees to 90 degrees every day, and there's wineries everywhere, and they're having a great time. So I'm kind of jealous because they're out on, like, my father-in-law's got a really nice wakeboard boat, and they go out on that, and so yeah, she sends me photos of her paddleboarding, so it's nice. It's really nice. And I haven't gone outside yet.
Have your kids watched you in the movie? Do they understand?
No, my little girl is 2 years and 9 months, and my little boy is 5 months old.
Oh,
so,
5 months, wow.
Yeah, just a little baby.
So you're still at the showing the picture stage.
Oh, yeah, I'll show them to anybody. I don't care. I have, the border guard. These are my kids.
I wish we could throw the projection up. We'd be like, okay, so
Yeah.
then here we go.
Yeah, they're little monkeys. Yeah, they're pretty cute. Then when they sleep, they're not so cute. They keep me up all night. That's the one thing that's nice about these events is I actually get like 7 hours of sleep. Like, I'm a party animal.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, we should go have beers afterwards. I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to have an Advil PM and pass out. And it's going to be the best night ever. You're so lame. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I slept in till 8 o'clock today. That was a big deal. I was like,
that was later than I slept.
No babies. All right, I'm just going to snooze.
Like, what time is my panel today? Noon? All right, I'm good.
I'm going to wake up at 11:45. Just have the old, like, shower in the sink. Yeah, a little bit of that. We're good.
There's a secret. If you go to the over to Ballroom C and you go behind that area,
Yeah.
there's a locker room and there's a shower there.
Is
so
there?
You don't even have to do that.
Perfect. I'm just not even going to shower in the hotel anymore. A waste of time.
It's a waste of time.
That's a waste of time. I'm going to sleep all day.
When doing these conventions, though, has there been that fanboy moment where you're like, oh my gosh, like we have Tim Curry and Meatloaf here, this weekend. It's amazing. Has there been? Have you
anything for love? I won't do that. I don't have those. Oh, that wasn't what it was for. I just love that song. No, I think at the beginning of my career when I was young and I was new to it, and I think there might have been more moments. I mean, when I first worked on X-Men and I got to meet Halle Berry and she would like give me a hug in the morning, I was like, "That's the best job ever." I hope I don't smell. But I think the older I've gotten, the more people I've worked with, the more sort of mature I've gotten in the industry and what I do. I don't really have those moments anymore. I think there are moments where I appreciate the talent of other people, and I will say, saw you in that. I thought you were fantastic. But I don't really have those moments. I don't think I've ever had those moments where I've just like really start shaking and don't know what to say to somebody. Yeah, it's never been my personality to really get too overworked up. I just naturally, that's just not who I am. But again, like you never know. Like all of a sudden, I might meet somebody who I've admired for years, and then be like, "Ha, I gotta go." Like just, what did I say? No.
Has anybody ever come up to you that you have admired and been like, hey, I'm glad to meet you, a big fan,
No, but that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. I should just start bringing up projects I've worked on. So, you seen this? What'd you think? Can I record you? No, not yet. But I think that would be a big moment. I think that would be really, really cool. When you get admiration from your peers, like when you get admiration from fans, it's fantastic because that's what we're doing. We're making this for people to enjoy, but when you get it from your peers as well, I think that's a really big thing. Some actors don't really, I don't know, they're a little pissy about it when you do say it. Sometimes they're a little bit like, You're like, all right, I'm pissed in your Cheerios. Barf! Yes. I'm a half man, half dog. I'm a mug. I'm my own best friend. Dude, it's like my all-time favorite. Yeah. I have seen Spaceballs so many times, and I will get a picture with you when we're done. That is so good. Oh, John Candy.
John Candy was the best, right?
Oh, he was so good. Oh, man, sorry, guys. I got totally distracted. I just fanboyed. For the cosplay.
Yeah, there we go. We just talked about it.
I just had a moment. Oh, I'm glad we all shared on that together.
So we have had a lot of folks walk in. There actually is a live microphone right there.
It's live.
If you'd like to come up and ask
You can
questions.
say what you want.
Don't worry. There will be no repeat questions.
Oh, Princess Vespa.
She's here.
Nobody knows. I know. And I saw her yesterday, and I was like, it was one of those moments where I couldn't figure out who it was until I got back to the hotel. I don't know why. I was having just one of those just brain fart moments. I'm like, I know that person. I have no idea from where. And I got back to home and I went, Vespa! Yeah, I'm a prince.
All right, we have a question.
Hey,
What's your name, man?
Mike,
Hey, Mike?
I got a question for you.
Sure.
For the Hardy commercial, how many burgers did you eat?
What's that, sorry? On that show, when I had to do the commercial?
Yeah.
How many burgers?
Yeah.
Too many, man. Dude, there was a job for somebody who just like literally had to hold a bucket while I spat out burgers. I was like, I am so sorry this is your job, dude. I am so sorry. Because the first bite was fantastic, and then the burgers got cold. And then cold barbecue sauce on a burger, it's no bueno, man. It's the hardships of work. I know, it was a tough day. People fed me food and I spat it out. God, I'm so hard done by, aren't I?
Cold burgers are not the same thing as cold pizza.
Well, it depends how hungover you are. Because there is a wonderful thing called a microwave. So if you are hungover and you do happen to have some McDonald's from the night before, it's not that bad in the morning with a quick little zap.
You're right, McDonald's.
I've heard from friends.
McDonald's and pizza are probably the two best, like, reheatable foods.
I used to order pizza and put it in the fridge right away. That's weird, I know. Everyone went, oh, sacrilegious. Not Domino's.
All right, so we're talking about pizza. I have a question real quick. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
No, ask yours.
Does it have anything to do with pineapple?
God.
Yeah, I know. I read it
Yes,
all over
that's
your
exactly
face.
it. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Sure, why not?
Yes.
Oh, okay, this is my favorite question to ask. All right, hold on. Okay, show of hands, pineapple on pizza, yes.
There we go.
Show of hands, pineapple on pizza, no.
We're
It
divided.
is literally always 50-50.
We're
Any room
divided.
I'm ever in.
I know, it's wonderful. Isn't democracy wonderful? Everyone can have an opinion. It's fantastic. I think it's great. Why not?
I'm a yes. What about you? What about you? A
crazy.
yes?
Well, yeah, I'm a yes.
Yeah! There's like 4 people.
What's your name?
Annalie.
Hi, Annalie. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So, Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, Jackson Rothbone, they've all complained about the makeup and the contacts that they had to wear for
Right.
the Twilight films. Did you also have a lot of issue with just...
No. No. What the hell do they got to complain about? Fuck, if you saw their paychecks, you think they would complain? God damn. I always find this is funny, right? Because I worked early on in my life. I was like 12 or 13 when I got my first like official job, and I was doing stuff before that because my dad was like, I was like, Dad, I want some money. He's like, great, what are you going to do for it? And I'm like, good question. All right, well, I'll do all these things, and then he'd go, okay, what's minimum wage? And, okay, I'd say it's this. He'd go, well, you're not old enough to get minimum wage, so you're going to get less than that, and this is what you're going to get per hour, and you're going to have to show me all your jobs you've done. So I had an understanding and a respect for money early on in my life. So I was working all the time, and I did odd jobs. I was like a laborer. I was a cleanup on job sites. I was a bricklayer. These are all these things that teach you that hard work gives you money, but the people that get into the film industry right away who have not had a hard job and not understand how hard it is to make a dollar, all of a sudden are given these extreme amounts of money, and they sit there and complain about this shit. And I'm like, it drives me nuts. It's like you sit in a chair, somebody gives you breakfast because it's made for you.
Everybody else is doing the work.
Everyone, they put makeup on you. Oh my God, that's so painful. Oh, makeup. Oh, that's so tough. And then they put contacts in your eyes, and they ask if you're okay. They give you eye drops every 20 minutes. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. Dude, it's like, it's just, I hear actors complain on set, and I'm like, just don't. Just stop. You know that what you made in this project is like 3 times what most people make in a year? Just shut your mouth and then do your job. I'm serious, man. I can't stand it. I've worn suits, like prosthetic suits, where I've lost 15 pounds a day in sweat. And you're in it for 16 hours, and you can't drink coffee or anything because it's a diuretic, so you're pissing everything out. You're just drinking water all day. And you can't really go number 2 because it takes an hour and a half to get the suit off, and they don't have that time, so you have to kind of hold it. So sorry for the info, but that's just the way it is. And I can say, okay, that stuff's hard work when you walk out like 15 pounds and half the man you are, and you're almost passing out downstairs because you've lack of oxygen in your brain. All right, I can say that's a little bit of a hard day. Oh, this makeup brush is so painful. How dare you put this on my face? Ugh, I'm having a tough day. My coffee's not hot enough. Someone made my breakfast wrong.
What's your name?
Tyler.
Tyler.
Sorry, Tyler, I went on a rant. I apologize, man. I'm very passionate about people who complain. I think it's ridiculous. Nobody got time for complainers.
But my question is, as Wolverine as a character is really like, I guess you could say aggravating. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, did you ever get aggravated with Hugh Jackman while he was in character?
No. He's such a nice guy. He's like one of those people who's like super nice and really talented. So I think maybe I got mad at the fact that he's just so nice and talented at the same time. I'm like, come on, man, you've got to have a flaw. There's got to be something. Hey, mate, how you doing today? Lovely. Great to see you. Colossus, eh? That's wonderful. I'm Wolverine. Why are you so nice to me? But no.
You know, what's your name?
Abigail.
Hi,
Hey, Abigail, how are you?
Okay, I'm good.
It's a little different when you're all of a sudden up at the microphone, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
All of a sudden, everyone's really quiet, and they're all staring at you, wondering what you're going to say next. Is it nerve-wracking? Are you scared? Are you sweating a little bit?
No, I'm not. Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Team Volturi. Can't go against my people. That would just be rude. Team Volturi. Well, I guess Team Edward now is Team Batman.
Yeah, so what do you think about...
That's very divided, too.
So what do you think about that?
Well, here's the thing. If you just remember him from Twilight, then I'm sure you're going to have a strong opinion. But if you go through his body of work and watch what he's done, you're going to agree that he is a very, very talented actor. And at the same time, something of that magnitude, when it comes to that large of a character for a franchise, he's been vetted. And he's gone through the ringer. I bet you he's probably done meetings, like multiple meetings, multiple auditions, multiple screen tests, and then he's probably already done a camera test in the suit to see. So it's gone through their due diligence. And I know he's a talented actor, so that part, the physicality might be something that some people might worry about, but then, he'll get the best trainer in Hollywood, and he'll have some of the best stunt performers and stunt team, and next thing you know, it's gonna be kick-ass. So I'm hoping that I have faith, but at the same time, we also know that the process in movies, something can change at the 11th hour, and what you thought was an amazing project, when you signed on, can all of a sudden be a giant...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Happens,
I think
man.
he could be a great Bruce Wayne, and you're not supposed to believe that Batman is Bruce Wayne, right? That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we'll see. But I know. He's what, like the 20th Bruce Wayne? So I guess we'll see. I always thought Christian Bale was fantastic, but he sort of ushered in the really, really dark Batman, and that was sort of the start of the really sort of gritty and more real.
Right.
So it's hard to say. I don't know. I thought Ben Affleck wasn't that bad. Yeah, I don't think he just did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Worked his ass off. Might have had a little help, but all right.
I'm Faith.
Hi, Faith.
Nice to meet you.
How are ya?
I just wanted to ask, is this your first trip to North Carolina?
No, actually, funny enough, I went to school in Erie, Pennsylvania, and
The home of the Oneaters.
the what?
The Oneaters.
The what?
The Wonders.
Say what?
From that thing you do.
Sure. That's why I went there. No, I have no idea. We did a road trip for spring break in a buddy's mom's beat up Audi. And I think we had probably $100 between like the 5 of us stuffed in this car. We went all the way down to South Carolina. The weather was terrible. But we drove through North Carolina and South Carolina. So I've seen a bit more than I will now. There were a lot of golf courses, I noticed. I wasn't a big golfer, so I was getting worried because at that time I was 19, 20, and I kind of wanted to not golf. I wanted to do the opposite of golf, which was just party. And we get there, and there was, like, no one there. We had all these in the car. We're like, this is going to be so cool. There's going to be so many people on the beach. It's going to be rad. And we get there, and it was crickets. And we're just like, oh, shit. But it was a great fun adventure. I don't know how we didn't die in that car, but, we're here. So I've been here before. Yeah.
All
Hi.
right, so this is going to be our last question, and I could not think of a better person to
Right?
to ask it.
Nobody knows the trouble I see. Nobody knows
Hi, Daniel.
my sorrow. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a Druish princess.
I was.
Oh, Mel Brooks, you slay me.
Are you going to that panel? Or are you going to be busy on the floor?
I should go to that panel. I'll probably be on the floor, but if I can get away and find out when it is, I might go to that one.
I think it's at like 4 o'clock. or
Is it?
something, Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
Can I borrow your outfit for it? Can we change clothes? It'd be great.
Do you want to be the stunt double?
Sure. Wasn't that a great scene? And the guy's mustache is falling off. Oh, my God. You idiot. The stunt doubles.
I was so glad you said Team Volturi because I'm actually Team Leah Clearwater.
Okay, there
We're
you go.
both Female.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
But my question for you is Twilight related. So when you guys were doing the scene in New Moon
Yep.
with the fight scene, were you guys using like pulleys and systems, or
Yep.
how did you choreograph that, and were there any injuries that happened?
There was a broken elbow.
There was.
Yeah, when I smashed him down onto the stairs, there was a really small section, so all of it is wood and faux marble. And then in the middle section, there was a cutout that was actually quite small, so we had to hit it very accurately, and that was all breakaway and foam.
Yeah.
And when we had pulleys to get the stunt double over top of my head and smash down, and when we did that, his elbow came out just slightly and just went straight onto the stair and broke his elbow, but he didn't tell anybody. He just kept doing it. Tough son of a bitch. But yeah, the whole thing is choreographed. Like a whole fight scene, what you see, could be only moments, could be filmed over a period of a week.
Oh, wow.
And we rehearse, because the rehearsal process is when you get all the kinks out.
Yeah.
You know, so that when we actually shoot on the day, it just goes smoothly, hopefully. But yeah, we worked on that for quite a while. And yeah, Robert Pattinson actually did quite a bit of it, which was really, really cool too. Like he didn't totally have 2 left feet. He was actually really, really game for it. He did bunk his head once, and I was kind of worried about him for a second. But no, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's a lot of pulleys and stunt riggers, and there's a lot of moving parts that go behind the scenes, and days of rehearsal. So what you see ends up being a compressed version of a huge amount of preparation.
How did that make you feel? You're like, I did that all week, and there's like
I know.
that little bit of film.
I know, and he's a buddy of mine. Yeah, like I work with him now all the time. Like, I'm sorry about your elbow, buddy. But he was Arrow's stunt double for years, so he's way more beat up from that than
Oh, wow.
the little thing that I did to him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming to Raleigh.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for dressing up as that character. It's fantastic.
All right.
I wish did you come into Winnebago? Oh, you would
Next year.
have got 3 gold stars if you did.
Next year.
That would have been so good. I'm a prince. Okay, anyway, I apologize.
But on that note, was
Yep.
a great note. I think that's going to wrap it up for
I think
us.
that's it, yeah.
You're heading back down to your table now.
I will be back down at my table, hanging out.
All right.